fascinating, interesting debate show is live in the huddle.
As my guy Kawhi Leonard will say, what it do, baby? What it do? And man, oh yeah, we got some more here on today's agenda, and we might as well kick it off to start our number 2. Would you rather start or build your team around Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis as your franchise quarterback? Zay, I want to keep it with you. What would you say?
Personally, for me, I think I've been highly vocal about college players playing in difficult conferences. I feel like they make the most out of those players, and they see adversity early on in those tougher conferences. So I want to take the shot and say I'll go with Kenny Pickett for the reasons being he's playing in the ACC. You see Clemson, you see Miami, Florida. Miami, Florida team. You see Notre Dame, you see North Carolina State, you see Wake Forest, you see there's a bevy of teams you see in that ACC, and I think that's one thing that Malik Willis hasn't faced in his career. You know, I know he played for Auburn his first 2 years, but it wasn't the same. It's not the same adversity as that later on in his years. And also, Kenny Pickett had 42 touchdowns in the ACC last season. So I would prefer Kenny Pickett over Malik Willis. I think he's more seasoned in a tougher conference. He's seen 4 years of just dominant players, and most of those guys in the NFL today playing for top level defenses, top level offenses, so on and so forth. So I would personally go with Kenny Pickett just because of his tenacity against the ACC in his college career, opposed to Mike Willis playing it for Liberty the last 2 years of his college career.
Okay, I see it. It's the strength of conference. That's a big thing for Zay on this topic. Solid. Coach, go right ahead, bro.
Woo! This topic here, you know, I was debating, I prayed, I marinated. When I look at this,
Coach had to pray about this.
I had to pray about it, man. Knees. I like to go with Kenny Pickett. Despite the media saying that, oh, he has small hands, I don't care for that. Like, I want to know, like, if you could really contribute and win games out there every Sunday afternoon, you feel me? And I just felt like, Kenny Pickett been in situations, especially in the conference that he was in, he faced against good competition, like Clemson, UM, North Carolina. I say he won the ACC championship for his team this past season. You feel me? And I just felt like the level of offense the scheme. He played in an NFL type of scheme. So I believe that right there. I feel like he'll be the most ready over Malik. He'll grasp NFL defense better than Malik. Malik, he's a dual threat quarterback in my opinion. Don't get me wrong. Now he had good stats where I think he threw over 25 touchdowns and he had 12 on the ground this past season. But an issue with Malik was his turnover issues, where he did accounted for 12 interceptions. So I believe interceptions might play a big role in Malik future in the NFL. So I believe that Kenny Pickett will be a better franchise quarterback than Malik.
It's a tough one because there's one that I think right now you can probably throw him as a starter, and there's another one that as I'm getting an actual birthday text message, this is like a couple days later, but I'll take it. Excuse me. But anyway, let me go back to my opening state. Can we start over, please? Thank you. I'm not going to get distracted that easily. My fault, guys. Anyway, let's take it from the top. All right, cool. There's one guy that I do believe can be pro ready today, but still comes with a little limitations. And there's another guy that I think is a bigger upside play from a longer term perspective. And it basically boils down to which team needs a quarterback right now and which team could afford to wait to unleash this guy who can be a star later on. And that guy is Malik Willis. I think he has the bigger upside play, especially if he sits behind a starting quarterback for 2 years. This is one of those picks where I'm saying I'll take the longer term gratification, or should I say the long-term ramification over the short-term gratification. And that's what I would do with Malik Willis. I think he has the strongest arm. I know it's his own film. He has the strongest arm out of the two guys. He can make all the throws out of the two guys. I've seen this guy throw from one hash to the other hash over two defenders and dropped it in the breadbasket at Olive Garden. The guy knows how to do it. And also in the league, you can run a lot of zone read packages for this guy and have him be a threat with his legs. clearly that's another element of his game where he can utilize his legs. And I think when you look at the league today and the guys that are dominating today in the NFL, even though you still have your Joe Burrows, you still have your Justin Herberts, even though Justin Herbert could run, we all know he's mobile, and Joe Burrow has shown an ability to be mobile as a quarterback at times, ducking tackles in the AFC Championship games. So more so, you're seeing quarterbacks that are dual threat guys in today's NFL. Jimmy Garoppolo can't run a lick. Guy ain't gonna be in the league 2 years from now. I'm sorry, it is what it is. So when you think about that, and guys that are dual threat, and you have your Lamar Jacksons, you have your Kyler Murrays, you have your Josh Allens, your Baker Mayfields, I think Malik Willis fits the time in the mold of a team in today's NFL. And I think if he goes to a team like the Steelers, that would be a good look for him, because he will be thrusted in a situation where he'll be able to be unleashed and to be that guy and reach that ultimate ceiling that I think he can. No disrespect to my guy Kenny Pickett. I think he is the most pro-ready quarterback out of the two. He can go through his progressions. He can make the right reads. He can make the throws too, even though he doesn't have an elite arm strength. And Claire, another downside to him, what worries me the most is his hand size. Now, I know a lot of people like to just, we don't care about that. We don't care about that. Joe Burrow, he has small hands and he made the Super Bowl, yeah. But the thing about having small hands is that when you're in the pocket and you get hit from the blind side, that ball's coming out 10 times out of 10. This guy lost 38, I believe it was, fumbles. 38 times he fumbled throughout his college career. He get hit by that blind side, he better go to a place with a great offensive line. And for what I'm hearing, right, the Steelers may take him. The Steelers don't got the best offensive line now. So that ball could come right out with them short hands. You get hit by the blind side. A tackle that you didn't see is what I'm talking about, that you didn't see coming. That ball is coming out. And I don't want him to be like a Daniel Jones in that retrospect where we can't even see your full potential because you can't even hold on to the ball. That's my biggest worry. I think Malik Willis have more upside play, and that would be the guy who I'll be drafting if I was a franchise.
So,
valid point with that. Oh, I'm sorry, Coach. You want to go? You can go.
Yeah, real quick. So, I say, Leel. So, if you're Malik Willis, what out of the 32 NFL teams, which team will be a good fit for him?
For Malik Willis, I would say, arguably, you can probably look at the Panthers. I think the Panthers right now, they need a quarterback. Sam Darnold is not the guy. Sam Darnold is not the guy. Okay, literally, he's not the guy. One of the worst quarterbacks in the league. You look at his statistics. I mean, come on, I want to vomit. Guys below average in statistics, near last in every major category that you use as a metric to judge your quarterbacks. They need a quarterback. They'd be foolish and dumb to not trade or not draft one. And I think Malik Willis could be the guy that they draft if they do believe in that upside play. You can argue, well, the Panthers need a quarterback today. Is Malik Willis going to be that guy today? That's a good question. But at the end of the day, you had none to lose. If you believe he's that guy, then guess what? You could roll him out there. Maybe he's better than Darnold already. And he could, you could throw him out there, whatever. But I think the Panthers, they need a quarterback. I think he should be the first one off the board. And if they don't go, if Pickett goes to the Panthers, then the Steelers will be dumb to pass upon him. I don't believe in Mitch Trubisky. I think you need to have another quarterback to play alongside him in the start. I think Mitch Trubisky is a very above average backup, but below average starter. So yeah, either between those two teams, they need a quarterback. I'd make the move.
I actually, I think one team that could actually benefit for having Malik Willis for the future, not right away, is the Indianapolis Colts. You have a Matt Ryan right now who's already on his way out, but Malik Willis, he learns under Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan was no slouch when he was in his prime. It's just his physicals, went down, and he's not the same quarterback he was when he was in his prime. But he was a quarterback who was precise. He knew how to read the defense, and I think that's something that Malik Willis could learn from. I think if you want to set up a quarterback for success, you have to let him sit behind rather A, great coach, or B, a quarterback who was really that guy at one point in his prime in his career. I think Matt Ryan could definitely teach a guy like Malik Willis and tutor him and be in his 2D in a sense. And again, this guy into read the field correctly, knowing when to make the right plays. And I think Malik Willis at 6'1", he's not like the shortest quarterback, but at 6'1", he has quick feet. He's still mobile quarterback, but if he's able to read the field on top of making a precise throws and then be able to escape the pocket with his feet and be a kind of like a mobile quarterback in a sense, that works out in their favor. I think the Colts could definitely benefit from having him in that role when it's time to become a starter. And then you still have Jonathan Taylor, and then you still bolstering the young receivers to become something at one point in time. I like that Colts. Hopefully the Colts could get him. That would be something interesting. And I think Kenny Pickett for the Steelers needs to be a no-brainer. I think the Steelers need a quarterback right away, a strong arm, a guy who's able to go in that spot right and kind of not, I guess, take over in a sense, because they don't really have a quarterback that's going to take over. So it's kind of Trubisky, and then after that, I think Pickett could take that job easily. You have Najee Harris. That offensive line is horrendous. You all know that. I don't know if it's going to change this season, but maybe something changes within that Steelers team because they have a great defense, and Pickett could just make the right reads quickly, because the defense going to get at him fast. If he can make the right reads quickly, or make the audible, make the right plays, I think the Steelers will be fine with Pickett as the starting quarterback.
I want to stay with the Steelers real quickly here because I want to know what Mike Tomlin really wants as his guy, because he was stuck with Big Ben for 2 decades. This is a traditional pocket passer type of quarterback. Even though he can run, he's elusive, but he's not really. I never really looked at Ben as a dual threat guy. He's just a guy that's mobile and big and hard to bring down.
Yeah, he was big.
Does he want to transfer that era into a more running style quarterback that's dual threat? Does he want to taste the juice that he's been missing as the NFL start to shift? Is that the guy that he want? Because I can see an argument for either quarterback going to the Steelers. You got Kenny Pickett, and he's a mobile cat too. I seen Kenny Pickett pump fake or fake the slide and take off for a touchdown in college. So he could dash. But Malik Willis is the build the bear type of dual threat guy that you would want. You cannot coach a broken play. And I think with him, you'll be benefiting from a lot of broken plays because of his elusiveness and being able to move out the pocket. So that's more interesting to me. What kind of guy does Mike Tomlin want to command his offense along with the talent that he already got there? That'd be interesting to me, especially because you do got Mr. Trubisky too. So you have a dual threat guy. So does that change him from going from another dual threat guy to pair along Mr. Trubisky and have them duel it out? Or is it I take a pocket passer, I have my dual threat, maybe 1 or 2 quarterback system where I have Mr. Trubisky and some packaging? I think that's a fascinating way to look at the Steelers and what ultimately they do on draft night. But a couple other teams I'll throw out here. The Atlanta Falcons is another team, bro. Marcus Mariota is not listen.
He's not that guy.
He's not that guy, at least from what we saw before. Now, granted, being a backup quarterback, he probably could have learned a lot from Derek Carr, and I still think he has a right to compete for the starting job. But you may want his insurance policy in case that product is not as good as, advertised or you think it is. You need that insurance policy. They need to go after a quarterback, and maybe Malik Willis, I think, fits that team perfectly more so than the others when I think about it.
You guys are going to call me crazy, but I believe that the Tennessee Titans could be a good fit for Malik Willis. The reason why I say that, because Vrabel, I don't know, something about Vrabel philosophy that catch my attention so much, where when he traded for Ryan Tannehill, he saw somebody that, okay, you don't need to be great. All I need you to do just, control the game for me, and that's it. I believe that in that system there, it could benefit Malik. If he, definitely, sit behind Tannehill for a couple of years, and he could learn how to manage the game, learn how to. Because one key attribute that Malik Willis had back in college, he was good with his play action. Like his play action was pretty filthy. So that right there, I believe that he could bring that to Tennessee as well. So I think the Titans could be a good fit for him, in my opinion.
Coach, I want to keep it with you as we move on to our subtopic here. Who are your top 5 or 3? However you want to give. You want to give 3? You want to give the full 5? It's up to you. Because I know I said 3, even though we have 5 on the agenda, so that's totally up to you. Give me your top wide receiver prospects in this year's class.
This year's class, you ready? Jameson Williams out of Alabama. Mitchie out of Alabama. Who else? Who else I would say? Olave. Chris Olave out of
Ohio State, right?
Ohio State. Drake London and Burks.
Zay.
Burks.
Yeah, so I got two receivers in my mind that I think are bona fide. They need to be the first two receivers off the board, and I think after that I guess decide a third one. But the first one for me is Drake London, 6'5", runs a 4.5, 210 pounds. You talking about a guy who's physical and is fast? That's the guy you want on your team. That's a receiver that you want if you need a receiver. Green Bay, go after a guy in 6'5", 210. 4'5", the guy's quick. He has quick feet. You're gonna want to get a guy like that because he's gonna oppose and he's gonna be a physical figure, intimidating figure for any cornerback, any defense on that field because he's gonna open up everybody on that field. Give me Drake London at USC and then Treylon Burks. I said it before the season. Treylon Burks is a beast. 225, 6'3", runs a 4.5. Why isn't he the first guy on the board? Why is he in the top 10? This guy is an elite level receiver. He started in Arkansas. First of all, Arkansas played all the major colleges that everyone talks about, all the great defenses. Everybody that you talk about great defense, all the great programs that play defense, he played against them. He torched them up. Get this guy off the board. He needs to be there. And then after that, you could go after a slot receiver. You could probably go after, I believe, Wilson was the number one receiver.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson. Yeah,
Garrett Wilson. You go after Garrett Wilson, a guy who's, like I said, 6 foot, 188, a good slot receiver. I'm not gonna put him as a 1 or 2 because 1 or 2 needs a good back to the tall, dominant receivers like the T.O.s of the world, like the Randy Mosses of the world. These receivers need to come back into the fold. Calvin Johnsons. These receivers need to come back into the fold as the dominant 1 and 2s. I'm tired of watching these 6 foot, 5'11" receivers being the number one option and they getting manhandled on the field. I'm tired of watching it. There's not a lot of receivers like Steve Smith anymore. Steve Smith was 5'9", dominating cornerbacks, physically pushing you out the way. These receivers are flimsy. They looking for the flag. They're not looking to make a play. Give me that. I need the tall, dominant receivers. Like I said, Garrett Wilson gonna do good on a slot team. Even Jameson Williams from Alabama, 6'2", 189. Like it's not a hefty build for a receiver. You know, he's kind of slim. So if you need a slot guy, a guy who's quick to get to his spots in the midfield, go after those guys. But the first two guys, in my opinion, that needs to get off the board is Drake London and Treylon Burks. Those are two physically dominating receivers, and a lot of teams are gonna be sorry if they don't select them early on. These guys, right now, I'm gonna tell you right now, early prediction, these two guys are gonna be battling it out for Rookie Offensive Player of the Year. That's how confident I am in these guys' talent. They're gonna be in one of those conversations when these teams let them go, because there's gonna be a situation. I don't know when. Treylon Burks or Drake London may fall down to the second round, and whoever grabs them in the second round is gonna be sorry that they dropped that low. That's all I have to say.
I mean, when you look at how deep this receiving class is, you see, upon doing my homework and doing my film study sessions with the draft, as I normally do a little bit more early in the calendar compared to this year, and I blame the off season of the NFL taking away my attention. I blame the NBA playoffs taking away my attention, but I was still able to get some work done this year. And I would say, upon doing my work, it's one thing for the mass media to say this class is deep, but when you're watching these highlights and you're evaluating these guys and you see how deep it really is, it's like, man, like a lot of these guys could be off in the first round. I can see about 5-6 receivers going in the first round. Like, it's that deep. But let's start here. I'm going to give you 5 guys, and I'm going to start off with number 1. I'm going to go with Jameson Williams from Alabama as my top receiver. You see, there's a saying in the NFL, speed kills. But I will also combat that and say speed heals. It can patch up an offense. It can heal an offense that is sick in a bad way and make it sick in a good way. And that's what speed can do. So speed kills, but speed also heals. And I think Williams can heal a whole lot of offenses. Offense that decides to take him, he can heal. And just a speedball. He has the ability to get by defenders easily. I watch a lot of his highlights in Alabama. Guy got past the defenders on a multitude of plays. When you watch his highlights, bro, all you see is deep plays. The guy blow past defenders. I mean, listen, that's it. If you know a guy that could get past a defender and could be a great route runner on top of that, that's a quarterback's best friend in the NFL. I think Williams is that prototype. And Alabama is known. Nobody can sit here and tell me that where you're drafted from doesn't also impact scouts if they know if a team or franchise or program is known to produce certain talents. Alabama has good wide receivers. We're talking about AJ Green, I believe, from Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. We're talking Calvin Ridley. You can correct me on the AJ Green if I'm wrong, but I know Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, all those guys from Alabama, that has to play a factor. Henry Ruggs, even though, Henry Ruggs is, locked up, won't let me out. Shout out to my dude Henry Ruggs. I want those shots over there. Hope you're holding up, but you know what I mean. They got a lot of good wide receivers there. That was a little jokey joke, but yeah, he's my number one guy, Jameson Williams. At number 2, shout out to my dude Drake London. That's my number 2. I know a lot of people is having hesitancy with this dude. I don't know why. He's a build-a-bear type of prototype. And Zay said that he wants to see more Calvin Johnsons, Mike Evans, in today's NFL instead of those hybrid guys like a Tyreek Hill, like a Debo. I think you would get your wish in Drake London being a Mike Evans-like guy that can make highly contested catches. And he may not have the best speed because that's a knack on him. He's not the speediest dude, but I think his ability to create separation and use his physical frame will allow him to be able to make explosive plays on the field, even not having that same speed. I've seen wide receivers with not a lot of speed still make explosive plays. I think Drake London could be that type of dude. Now, I know he's coming off a fractured ankle and all that, but I think still, obviously, it's not the end of his career. I do believe in this dude from USC. I saw him in the Rose Bowl. That was one of the best wide receiving performances I've seen on the stage like that. This dude is legit. He needs to be number 2 for me. At number 3, I'm going to go Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. That's my number 3 guy. He reminds me of Deebo Samuel. That's who I would compare him to. A guy that you get the ball out to in space, and he'll do the rest. Get out my way. I'll make a play. That's that type of dude in Garrett Wilson. I think if you're the 49ers, I got something to say to y'all right now. Real little thinking cap is about to come on right now, Jack. I think if you're the 49ers, okay, you need to finesse the hell out these Jets. These Jets are desperate. Okay, these guys are looking for love. They are desperate. They want that wide receiver so bad that they're willing to sell their soul. Take advantage. Get the number 10 pick. Get another first round pick. And use that 10 pick and get you a guy that you can plug in that could be your bootleg version of Deebo Samuel and Garrett Wilson. Plug and play. The finesse is right there in front of your face. Take heed. I got them at number 3, Garrett Wilson, my guy. At number 4, I'm going to go with Treylon Burks. Okay, physicality, size, big hands, can do it all. The little nuances he can do, like block. A lot of people don't talk about blocking when it comes to wide receivers, but having a guy and a wide receiver that could be a more willing blocker and help you in your running game out, that's a guy that you want on your team. Yeah, we can make the catches downfield. Woohoo, I'm impressed. Yeah, he can make the intermediate catches. Woohoo, I'm impressed. But having a guy that can block for you, that's critical. That's the little nuances in football that keep our offense humming. Get a guy like Treylon Burks. That's my number 4 guy. And number 5, I'm going to think outside the box. Nobody really brought up this dude in this show. A lot of people is not bringing this dude up. But guess what? They say it's a rainy night in Georgia. It's a sunny day in Georgia. I'm going with George Pickens at number 5. Okay, most underrated wide receiver in this draft right now. He has a physical tools to not play the fool. He could dominate at the pro level. And I think if you're the Packers, my thinking cap is back on. I'm helping everybody today. Call me Christmas Leel. I'm Santa Claus. Okay, come here, Packers. Come right over here. Thank you. Yeah. So you traded away your best wide receiver. Y'all do know that, right? Devontae Adams. You do know you're going to need to fill that void, right? I'm pretty sure you do know. Get a guy like my guy over here, George Pickens. He can fill that void. Of course, you're not going to get Devontae Adams production. You're a fool. You're not going to get that production from anybody. But you can get you a wide receiver that you can plug in today. As I almost dropped my drink trying to mess up the flow. Ladies and gentlemen, there you go. That's my top 5 dudes. Number 1, Jameson Williams. Number 2, Drake London. Number 3, Garrett Wilson. Number 4, Treylon Burks. And number 5, George Pickens. Leo's top 5 wide receivers. Any last comments?
Hey, man, these receivers are going to be explosive this season. I think this is probably one of the better receiver draft classes that we've seen in a while. Not one like huge superstar over the other. I just feel like there's gonna be a lot of guys who are gonna produce high numbers on the proper teams, of course, that make these high passing plays. So I think I'm ready to see this draft because I'm itching to see which receiver goes where Like I said, if Drake London or Traylon Burks are not one of the two, if not the first two picks out of the receivers that get drafted, I'll fire the front office. That's all I'm gonna say. Fire whatever front office that is.
Listen, the last point that I make before we hit this commercial break, and indeed a commercial break is on the way, I will say this. I want to see, because we all know there's a lot of needy teams for wide receivers. As I look at the list right here, off the top of my head, I'm thinking Jets, of course, but they may trade for Debo. I think that's going to go down. But if it doesn't go down, then obviously they could possibly take a wide receiver. I'm looking at the Commanders. I think Drake London to the Commanders, that's a go right there. Oh, right there, you have your Curtis Samuel, the other Samuel over there, and you have your McLaurin. You add another physical threat on the outside along with McLaurin and a guy in the slot that you can use. Oh my God! Now we talking Commanders. That's a look right there. But also the Eagles could use another guy, especially because Jalen Reagor is up for sales. Ain't nobody want that bum anyway. So I'm pretty sure they're gonna be stuck with him, but they don't want to be stuck with him, if you know what I mean. They get a wide receiver as well. So there's a couple guys that need wide receivers teams, and I'm gonna be interested to see if a team that doesn't really need a wide receiver on paper, and we think that they're going elsewhere to fill another void. I want to see if there's going to be a Jerry Jones in this draft. Because remember, when Jerry Jones got CeeDee Lamb, he already had Mike Gallup and he had Amari Cooper. Nobody was expecting Jerry Jones to draft the wide receiver, and then CeeDee Lamb just out of nowhere fell into his lap, and Jerry Jones couldn't help himself but to touch and draft the fella. I want to see if there's going to be a team that we are not expecting to draft for wide receiver, but the class is so deep and the talent is so hard to pass by that they'll say, you know what, I'll take that guy.
The Can You Dig It Sports Radio Network is here. Revolutionize the game of media. Be a dig.